At the beginning of 2018, one man believed that he was going to be the next president of the Republic of Kenya, the Deputy President William Ruto. He believed strongly that the only thing which was standing between himself and the presidency was actually the remainder of President Uhuru Kenyatta's term in office. Because he believed that the president was going to support him, he was going to get the support from the Kikuyu nation, Raila Odinga was going to destroy him. Because you all remember that by that January, Raila Odinga was actually planning to swear himself as the people's president. And he believed that Raila Odinga was going to destroy himself with that move. And he also believed that he was going to control the state machinery. And around March 18th, 2018, a lot of things also changed. President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga shocked the entire country when they appeared together for that famous handshake. And that move by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga changed the politics of this country completely. And one man who was affected the most was actually the Deputy President William Ruto. And he knew so well that that handshake was not going to benefit him. He knew so well that these guys were probably planning something. Because the Deputy President has been in politics for a long time. He's been understanding how power rotates in this country. He was present when Daniel Toroitich arap Moi refused to hand over the KANU presidential ticket to George Saitoti, who was the most qualified, and opted for President Uhuru Kenyatta, a man he picked from nowhere. And the Deputy President witnessed how Uhuru Kenyatta evolved and became the next president of the Republic of Kenya. So the Deputy President knew so well that the people around power at that time probably were not going to support him. So he embarked on a journey of marketing himself, specifically in central Kenya. And in central Kenya, he managed to capture the imagination of the people around that place. And he started a narrative, the dynasties versus the hustler narrative. And today in this country, the Deputy President has successfully managed to create a narrative about the dynasties and the hustler, what he calls the hustlers nation. But will Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga successfully manage to counter that narrative? Because that narrative is actually very popular on the ground. The past 2 days, Raila Odinga was in Bomet. And I think this is politically significant. Raila Odinga was in Bomet yesterday. Bomet is in Rift Valley. And in Rift Valley, for the first time, Raila Odinga countered that narrative by explaining to people that in this country we've had 4 presidents. And out of those 4 presidents, only one can qualify to be a dynasty. The rest were actually hustlers. And today in Kisumu, Raila Odinga repeated the same thing.
Realizing the dreams of the founding fathers of our nation. And that's why we said it can be done. And I told Uhuru, let us forget about what has happened. Yaliyopita sindwele. Naganga yaliyomo ni ajayo. So I told him, you stand that side, and I stand this side. And we shake hands so that we can be able to realize the Kenyan dream. And we say that Kenya is much more than just hustler nation. You know, the founding father of this nation, Jomo Kenyatta, was a son of a peasant. Himself was a peasant. He was actually a meter reader in Nairobi, running with a bicycle, reading the meter. And then the city council then would bill people to pay their water bills. But he rose and eventually became the first president, the founding father of our nation. The second president, Nyayo, Daniel Toroitich, if you go to Sacho village in Baringo, it is a very simple village and where people are really very poor. That's where he came from. And he became a primary school teacher. He rose from those humble beginnings and became the second president of this country. Mwai Kibaki, another son of a poor peasant. Kibaki had actually dropped from school for 1 year for lack of school fees. He's a son of a poor person. But he rose up and became the third president. He studied a lot hard, went to Makerere, got a first-class degree, and went to London School of Economics, and came back and became the third president. So hii mambo ya kusema ati sisi hasla.
But will they be able to counter this dynasty versus the hustlers narrative? Because the deputy president's motive is very clear: to manipulate the imaginations of the poor people, who are the majority in this country, and run away with them. Will he be able to sustain that hustler narrative himself as the deputy president? And will Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta manage to counter it? Because from all indications, these guys are ready to counter it. And I remember last year, President Uhuru Kenyatta attended the Kenyatta Day, and he announced to the entire country that that marked the end of that day. And the president was very bitter, if you listened to him, when he was making that announcement, that the family had agreed that that was going to be the last time they were going to celebrate Kenyatta Day in a big way, the way it has been done traditionally. And he blamed those, and most people interpreted it to mean the deputy president. Listening to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Kwa hivyo, as president, I have consulted the family of the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, and after consulting them, we have agreed together that this is going to be the last celebration, 41 years, of Mzee in this manner. We shall each celebrate him as we remember him, and in the manner in which we will be doing our things going forward. And I want to take this opportunity from the bottom of my heart, again on behalf of the family of the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, to thank the second President of the Republic, Honorable Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, who without fail for 21 years observed this day, and we are truly grateful to him for that. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the third President of the Republic of Kenya, the Honorable Mwai Kibaki, who again faithfully for 10 years never failed to honor and mark this day. Asante sana mzee. So as we leave today, let us live with his spirit in our hearts. Let him guide us. Let him guide what we say. Let him guide how we act and interact with one another. Don't do something to hurt your brother and sister. Some of the words people spew, we forget that there are families behind those words that you spew. Lakini hiyo ni shauri yenu, kwa sababu kila mtu ako na haki ya kufanya vile anataka. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, na washukuru wote.
So it means this hustler thing and dynasty thing is actually getting into the nerves of these leaders. But the question is, will the deputy president sustain it? Because he needs to sustain it. And again, can Raila Odinga, from the way I'm seeing him, manage to stop that narrative? That's what I want us to look at today.
To represent the hustler nation. He represents the poor of the poor of the poor in Kenya. And those of us who also came to power from a very humble background, we want this time around a hustler to go and become the president. We want to kill these dynasties. We call it in the Somali community, Bokortuya.
Keeping this to politics, don't you think that maybe the president could be using politics, or not really politics, governance, to settle political issues?
With who now?
With the Ruto, of course.
Okay, I think Ruto jumped ahead before these things were settled in terms of even 2022. Because look, take it for example, it is Ruto who produced himself as a hustler, a candidate, presidential candidate, and then he branded the other guys that they are dynasty. That is Raila Odinga, the Gideon Moi, and the Uhuru Kenyatta. That's the dynasty. But then he got it wrong because William Samoei Ruto has never voted outside dynasty since 1992. He voted for Moi, that was dynasty. 97, he voted for Moi, that was dynasty. 2002, when the entire country knew that Kibaki was going to win, and Kibaki was a hustler, he voted for Uhuru, who is a dynasty. 2007, there were hustlers. He voted for Raila, who is a dynasty. And then in 2013, he voted for Uhuru, who is a dynasty. 2017, he voted for Uhuru, dynasty. So he has never voted for hustlers. We've had so many hustlers. Ekuru Aukot, Mwalimu Dida, and the rest. He has never voted for them. So William Ruto has voted for dynasty. He cannot come out all of a sudden to teach us not to vote for dynasty. We will vote for dynasty because that's the pattern he has taught us.
But let us begin by understanding what hustlers are and what dynasties are. Let's go to the dictionary. The definition of a hustler is a person who is aggressively hardworking, who knows how to get around problems, or a person who makes money by doing something dishonest. And they are giving example. A person who will stop at nothing to get what he wants. So basically, you can do anything as long as you get what you want, and who has aggressively trying to get it is an example of a hustler. So if you've been trying to get something, whichever way, you are a hustler. Another example is a person who pretends to be bad at a pool to get people to bet him in a game and make money is an example of a hustler. For example, when you're playing, those who play pool, so you unajifanya we ujui, you pretend you don't know. Then someone comes and place a bet there. And because you are a star, you end up winning. So you are a hustler. The other example they're giving is a street worker or a prostitute who tries to entice people to sleep with her for money is an example of a hustler. But why is the term hustler fashionable in this country? Let us get the meaning of dynasty. Dynasty is defined as a series of rulers of a country who all belong to the same family. So we are talking of rulers, like in this case presidency, but they belong to the same family. That's how dynasty is defined. But why is the deputy president successfully managing to craft this message to the people? And because this message is actually spreading like bushfire, why is he able to pass this message without being challenged? Because we all know that since the deputy president joined politics, up to now, he qualifies to be part of that dynasty. Individuals, or 4 individuals are in question. Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru Kenyatta's father was the founding president of the Republic of Kenya. So Uhuru Kenyatta ideally qualifies as a dynasty. He has never denied that. The next person is the deputy president, William Ruto. He's a son of a nobody. But the deputy president has benefited from the dynasties from the time he completed his education. The next person is Musalia Mudavadi. Musalia Mudavadi's father was a peasant, just a teacher. And the father of Musalia Mudavadi is the one who identified Moi, and Moi became now the president of the Republic of Kenya. What about Kalonzo Musyoka? Kalonzo Musyoka was just a son of a poor man who managed to get education, became a lawyer, and became a KANU member. So those are the people we can talk of when we are looking at politics. The deputy president is right in the middle. So in this list, we can say Uhuru, Raila, and Mudavadi are dynasties. Ruto and Kalonzo are not. But again, if you look at the history of this country, Raila Odinga's father was the vice president of this republic for, I think, less than 3 years. The deputy president, William Ruto, has been the deputy president now for 7 years. So it means even if it's around power, the deputy president has been in power more than the Odinga's family. And again, the Odingas really suffered in the hands of Moi. Coincidentally, it is Moi who made William Ruto who he is today. But let us focus on the dynasties. Will these guys manage to tame William Ruto with this narrative? Because he's running with this narrative. What are some of the factors which they have to consider? The first thing is that this narrative is very popular with the people. And the question is, why is it popular with the people? It's popular with the people because majority of the people in this country, whether educated or not, are very poor. They don't have jobs. You meet youth in the streets today, riding border. Some of them are graduates. Personally, I know one or two. I've talked to one or two of them. And one told me, yeah, I'm a diploma in electrical. And I'm actually been talking to one of my friends to see how he can accommodate him. We were just waiting for this corona thing. But the fact is, so many youths who are educated are today border. Today, wako jua kali. No white collar jobs. And because of that, they relate to that narrative of hustling. So that's number one. So how will these people manage to deal with this hustling thing? Because the fact is, Uhuru Kenyatta's family, they are super rich. Raila Odinga's family are super rich. The deputy president's family are now super rich. Musalia Mudavadi family, super rich. Kalonzo Musyoka, super rich. But what about your family and my family? So that narrative is really resonating so well with them. Number two is the anti-establishment candidate. The deputy president is trying to establish himself as the anti-system candidate. In this country, it's known that you can't just become the president of the Republic of Kenya. There are certain individuals who sit somewhere. After sitting somewhere, then they agree that this time, none-India anaweza kuwa president. So they identify. Raila won elections in 2007. Those people sat and said, you can't. They plotted and made Uhuru Kenyatta the president. The fact of the matter is that these guys were planning to plant Gideon Moi as the next president of the Republic of Kenya in 2017. And because the deputy president is understanding this game, he has decided to go for them. So he's setting up the people against the establishment. So whether it's going to succeed or not, I still don't know. But the other thing, how will Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta manage to deal with that issue of anti-establishment? But how will Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta manage to deal with that issue? Convince people that if, for example, Uhuru will decide to endorse Raila, how will they convince people that they're not doing that as a reward to their families? How will they do that? So the deputy president is really dealing with that, and it will take these guys a lot of time to craft a way of convincing the people that they're not doing this for their own family. They're doing this for the benefit of the entire country. Number three is the failure of successive governments. And this is exactly what the deputy president is now appealing. And I understand why Raila Odinga is now going outside there. The deputy president is convincing people that the successive governments have failed. They've failed because they are dynasties. And many Kenyans are buying that. What they are failing to understand is that out of these 5 presidents, the 4 presidents we've had, Uhuru Kenyatta is the first dynasty. Moi Kenyatta was a peasant. Moi Kibaki, the same. Nani was a meta reader. All those guys. But you can't compare, you can't really quantify their success in government. And because it's been a long time, there are people who were born in 2002, and they are going to vote. Most of these people don't even understand the history of this country, because even history are no longer being taught in schools. So most of these people don't understand. The only thing they understand is that Kenyans are really suffering. There are no jobs. Unamaliza shule, kuna mali ya kuenda. Your parents are suffering. So these guys are understanding only one thing, that there is a failure. All successive governments have failed. And the deputy president is actually capitalizing on this. And that's why today, for the first time, I saw a sitting deputy president campaigning publicly by dishing money. The deputy president was dishing money somewhere in Nairobi today.
Hiyo Icons Kigomba Group wako hapa. Mimi nitawapatia shilingi 100,000 waendeshe hustle yao. Kuna kikundi ya kina mama inaitwa Wakilisha Kamukunji Women Group. Hiyo kikundi ya mahasla ya kina mama. Vile vile nitawapatia 1,100 muendelee na hustle yenu.
So for Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta to succeed, they must ensure that there is success at the end of the day. Without that, zero. And lastly is the game of numbers. The deputy president is actually a very shrewd politician. This guy knew so well that for him to succeed, he needed the Kikuyus and the Kalenjin votes. And from all indications, Uhuru Kenyatta is likely not to support him. He understands that. So what next? He must get a new voting bloc. So what a better way of getting that new voting bloc by creating a class kind of war, the rich and the poor. And we know that in this country, you can count 1 billionaire in your village. I'm not talking of a millionaire. You can count 1 billionaire in your village. Probably you might not even get a billionaire, but you can count 1 million poor people. So it's easy for this guy to rally support around the hustler, the poor. Remember, Raila Odinga has always been accused of being supported by poor people. So Raila Odinga is being accused of ensuring that people remain poor so that they continue supporting him. Because Raila Odinga's politics has always been about hope. The deputy president is not coming with a hope of tomorrow, a better hope of tomorrow. Yeye anakuja na pikipiki, anakuja na mkokoteni. So he wants to solve your problems. So today, like what he did in Nairobi, where he gave people 100,000 to around 10 groups. That 100,000 might not be of help to most of those people. At the end of the day, they'll just go back to their usual places. But what will happen is very simple. Those people will try to identify. Even some of the groups which did not benefit today, they'll plan to try and benefit next time. But how will Uhuru and Raila deal with this? They can only deal with this if they go and start educating people about the history. And remember, there's a generation in this country who don't care about the history of this country. So it's going to be very complex. So let us wait and see how these things are going to unfold. And I'll be following, especially Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga has now come out openly to remind Kenyans that, hey, look here, we have 4 presidents. 3 have been from the poor family. Have they changed the country? So that's the message Raila Odinga is trying to pass. So as we move on, we are going to see a lot in terms of that regard. But I think just let's give credit where it's due. The deputy president has started something, a narrative, which resonates so well with the people of Kenya. The hustler narrative. Whether it's going to be sustained or whether it's going to not be sustained is something we are going to wait to see. And by the way, there's a story, and we are doing it tomorrow, how the deputy president was stopped by President Uhuru Kenyatta from attending an Akorino event. And that's why the deputy president was not at any public function yesterday. Let us wait. I'm still gathering details about that meeting, which was supposed to happen yesterday. And Uhuru decided, okay, I also want to meet Akorino people. And these guys then decided, ile mkutano ya rais imekatwa. So tomorrow we are going for that. Thank you guys. And if you're watching this video for the first time, again, take a second or two and click subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Thank you guys, and please may you have a good day.